Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at race number 7 at Churchill Downs on Saturday evening. Let's throw up the field for the Grade 3 Ack Ack Stakes. We are going 1 mile. It's a one-turn mile on the main track. Field of 9, co-3-1 favorites on the morning line. The 4, Thirst for Life. The 8, Timeline, returning off of a long layoff. I forgot all about him. But this is a fairly evenly matched group, and we'll take the field in post-position order. We won't be seeing the 1, Olympic Village. He's going to scratch out of this race to run in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. So I want to throw up the Timeform US pace projector before we get to the analysis. With Olympic Village out of the race, the very fleet Mr. Jägermeister, well, the lead is his for the taking, isn't it?
Yeah, he's a fast horse. The question with him is will he get the mile against some good horses here? But yeah, I feel like he's going to be on the lead here.
Mr. Jägermeister is the 6. We've got Mr. Darcy, who also has shown some speed. The 5 up close to the pace. The 7, Mr. Freeze, also expected to be forwardly placed. And remember, visit timeformus.com. Once scratches are made official, they will update this pace projector, taking out the 1, Olympic Village. Let's start with the 2, Airstrike. I think he's a little dirtied up, Mike. I think if there's some hitting in this race, this one-turn mile configuration hits him right between the eyes. In the Bing Crosby 2 starts back, he was a one-run closer in a race with no pace. Sistron basically walked on the lead. Last time out in the Forgo, he was in against Matoli, probably the best sprinter in the country. His 3rd start of the form cycle against these horses, I think it makes his best race, puts him right there.
Yeah, it does. And I think the one-turn mile especially, should be okay for him, especially if he gets pace. You're right in that he has maybe some excuses for his last 2. That stuff cuts both ways. When he won the Grade 2 Triple Bend, that race basically fell into his lap. He got outrun. They went a wicked pace in front of him, and he closed it down. If they go in front of him, he'll be running at the end.
CZ Rocket, the 3, I think is value at 8-1. This is a horse that's had his share of physical problems. He's 5 years old. He's only raced 11 times. He came off a 7-month layoff last time out, going 6 furlongs, and I just thought that was a perfect prep for a race like this. He angled wide turning into the stretch. He passed some tired horses. It looked like he finished with some interest. The buyer got back to the mid-90s. I think he can take a step forward for Al Stall. And second off the layoff last year, he won the Kelly's Landing with a 103 buyer, his best ever.
Yeah, obviously has races that make him a real contender here. I hear what you're saying off the layoff last time. They were probably just giving him a race. And he just, did what he had to do there, picked up some pieces late without ever being a threat in the race. We'll see what happens. He's been around for a while. He obviously has his issues. I think he fits well in here, Dan. I did not like his effort in this race last year, where they just went a very soft pace. He was right up on it, and just no match. But maybe that was just a better field.
It just seemed like it might have been a better field. No Seeking the Soul, no giant expectations in here, but it's a very good point to be sure. Thirst for Life is the number 4. Nice $50,000 claim by Wes Hawley. This is a horse that's made money for these connections. He's earned some high buyer speed figures. It just seems like whenever they step him up into the graded stakes ranks, he comes up a little bit short. Now, this is a good spot for him, and I have a feeling the one-turn mile is what he's been waiting for. They've run him in a lot of 9-furlong races, a lot of 2-turn races. You look at his race 3 starts back. I know American Anthem isn't a star, but he's okay, and so is King Zachary, and Thirst for Life got them both.
Yeah, he ran pretty well in that race. He's another horse who, if they go in front of him, he might fall into a good trip here. And I hear what you said. I think the shorter distances are better for this horse. So in a lot of ways, he makes sense. I don't know if I would love him at 3-1. But boy, he makes a lot of sense in this race.
Now, I wonder if the number 4, Mr. Darcy, was running at a distance a little too short for him last time out when he was in for the $150,000 optional tag. Recruiting ready, we know he wants the 6 furlongs. Mr. Darcy was cutting back in distance. He pressed the pace. He was second best while no match for the winner, yet he held CZ Rocket safe for the place. Let's go back to his race 2 starts back when he was in against Mr. Freeze at Ellis Park, and they were basically involved in a race-long battle throughout. Mr. Darcy got the better of Mr. Freeze that day. And Mr. Darcy is a horse that's just improved this year. Again, this is his stakes debut. We're going to find out how good he is, especially if he's chasing Mr. Jägermeister through some quick splits.
Yeah, I understand why they're giving him a chance in a better race here. He's run fine in his last 2. It's worth pointing out that he was catching Mr. Freeze off the layoff there. And so maybe that had something to do with the end result, but this horse ran fine in that race.
15 of 17 on the board with 10 wins for the 6, Mr. Jägermeister. I believe that was your nickname in college. He's won his last 3 races, but I think you mentioned in the Open the main bugaboo about Mr. Jägermeister. It's that this distance is pushing it. He just seems like a pure sprinter, plain and simple. If he gets an easy lead, maybe he can take them a long way. I just think someone's going to be pushing him through the middle part of this race.
Yeah, I have the same concerns. He's a fast horse and he's pretty talented. I won't be surprised when he runs well in here, but I feel like the mile might really push his limits.
I completely forgot about Mr. Freeze winning the West Virginia Derby last year by 8. I guess that's what happens when you get old. He returned off a long layoff in that Mr. Darcy race, and he probably needed it. I think it was a good prep in that he battled Mr. Darcy throughout before eventually succumbing. I think it's an effort he can build off of. Second start of the form cycle for Mr. Freeze. I do wonder if he kind of wants a little bit more ground, but he fits here on his best race.
Yeah, I agree. I think he makes a lot of sense in here. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt for the last one, where he didn't have a tough trip or anything, but he was off the layoff. So maybe he'll just take a step forward here. I think he's another horse. I think he fits really well in here. And your point's well taken. He might want to go longer than this, but I think this is actually a good spot for this horse.
Number 8 Timeline won his first 4 starts like a budding star for Chad Brown, winning the Peter Pan, winning the Pegasus, and then his form just went south. His last 2 races for Chad were the Kelso, the Cigar Mile, 2 paceless races where he tried to come from off the pace. I'll give him that one. He has been gone for 9 months. Now he's with Steve Asmussen. He could easily win this race. I just don't want to take 3-1 on him off of an extremely long layoff in a race where they might be prepping for something down the road.
I look at him exactly the same way. I know that he can win. He's got plenty of races to make him a contender. He has some speed, so if he wants to be forward, he can be. And I actually feel like the 1-turn mile might actually be what he's best at. So there are things to like about him. I just don't want him at a short price.
Let's take a look at our top picks for the Ack Ack. Asmussen has the 8 Timeline, Mike. He also has the 9 Unmatchable. And when Unmatchable won his maiden last year at Churchill Downs, I know it was only an off-the-turf race. I was really visually taken by that performance. I thought it was a really good effort, and unfortunately for this horse, he just went away for about 8 months. Something must have physically went amiss. His last race we're going to take a look at right now at Ellis Park, and it was a workmanlike win. It didn't come back with a big fig, but something tells me that this horse still has plenty of upside, and we've yet to see his best.
Yeah, that's how I was looking at him too. What I liked about this race especially was second off that long layoff you mentioned, and he was sort of in behind horses after breaking very sharply in the race, like they didn't want to be on the lead. Bays had to get him off the inside pretty early there. I think he didn't want to get trapped in behind, and so he actually made an early move. I don't know. I like that performance from him. As you say, he looked like a horse with a lot of potential last year, and maybe he's just starting to find himself in a race where, listen, there are better horses in here, but it's not like this is a field full of superstars.
So as we throw up our picks, your top selection in here is Unmatchable. I want to give CZ Rocket another chance second off the layoff. I really think that was just a prep. He just got outrun in the early portion of that 6 furlong race, recruiting ready as a crack sprinter. CZ Rocket hadn't run in a while. He came with a wide bid. He was running on his own at the end of that race. He's run some fast races. He's run well second off the layoff. We'll see if we get the 8-1 on CZ Rocket. I went 3-5-7. You're going with the 15-1 shot. Give me numbers.
Yeah, I went 9, 7, 4, and 8.
Grade 3, Ack Ack, one of 2 graded stakes races at Churchill Downs on Saturday. This has an approximate post of 9:05 Eastern. Best of luck.